about 2 weeks ago. I was sitting in the cafeteria on lunch duty and sitting talking with my boy Tyler Hernandez, and I was kind of going over my convocation speech with him. You know, him being a 4.0 student and myself being a PE teacher, I felt like it was a good idea for him to kind of be a good sounding board for some things I want to talk about. And I was about halfway through my speech with him, and Tyler looked at me and goes, "Coach, what are you doing?" I said, "This isn't about NDA camp. This isn't about me." I said, "I know, Tyler." I said, "I'm going to try my best. I'm trying my best to talk about something else other than NDA camp, and if I fail miserably, then so be it." So, here it goes. I was sitting in Mass about a month and a half ago, Corpus Christi cafeteria. Now, the cafeteria was, of course, where we were holding Mass because the church was undergoing renovations. As I sat there with my wife and 2 young children, I was struggling with my concentration to the liturgy. First and foremost was the location of Mass. The school's cafeteria with its ever-present stench of tater tots and spilled milk, and rows upon rows of metal folding chairs did not lend to a feeling of being in the presence of God. Couple that with the fact of attending Mass with my 2 fidgety kids, for whatever reason that day, just couldn't sit still. It got so bad, my son and his fidgeting, and my wife at one point leaned down and whispered to him, and I quote, I'll do my best wife voice, "Vincent Andrew Wood, look at that cross behind the altar. Okay, Jesus Christ died on that cross. At least you could sit there for an hour and be still." Okay, you get the picture at this point in time. I'm counting the minutes, okay, before Mass is over and we can go home. But as Mass continued on, we finally came to the homily. The deacon began his homily with a prayer I had not previously heard before. And I want you to listen to this prayer, because I think this truly speaks to the reason why I'm here before you today. "Lord, take me where you want me to go. Let me meet who you want me to meet. Tell me what you want me to say, and keep me out of your way." As the deacon finished with this prayer, he told us this prayer is attributed to a priest named Michael Judge. Michael Judge was a New York City chaplain during the events that transpired on September 11th. Now, like most Americans, any stories about 9/11, the events that happened on that fateful day, piqued my emotions and immediately garnered my full attention. But like many of you, I had never heard of Father Michael Judge prior to the deacon reading his prayer and telling his story. Father Michael Judge's story goes like this. Upon hearing the news that the World Trade Center had been hit, Father Michael Judge rushed to the site. He was met by the mayor of New York at the time, Rudy Giuliani, who asked him to pray for the city and its victims. Father Michael Judge began praying for the injured and dying in the streets. Then he entered the lobby of the North Tower, where a command post had been set up. There he continued offering aid and prayers to the rescuers, the injured, and the dead. As the situation worsened, Mayor Giuliani ordered the command post to be moved. Father Michael Judge made the decision to stay behind and continue to offer up prayers. When the South Tower collapsed at 9:59 a.m., debris went flying through the North Tower lobby, killing many inside, including Father Michael Judge. Shortly after his death, a New York City Police Department lieutenant found Judge's body and, assisted by 2 other firemen and 2 civilian bystanders, carried it out of the North Tower and into the lobby of the nearby St. Peter's Church. At this point in time in the homily, everything else just seemed to fade away. And I began to wonder just what was going through Father Michael Judge's head as all this death and destruction was happening around him. I sat there and contemplated what strength and courage it must have taken to stay behind and continue to pray for all those people still left in the towers. I wondered, as the tower began to collapse and Father Michael Judge continued to pray for everyone else, if he had in fact accepted that God had placed him there for a reason. I often wonder if I in fact will have the courage to accept where God places me. I've always had the inherent belief that things in my life happen for a reason. And if I do the right thing, then good things will happen to me and my family. Now, upon further reflection, I've come to the realization that this inherent belief of mine is basically the definition of the word faith. Faith is one of those words that's tough to get a tangible hold on. By definition, faith is believing in something or having a devotion to or trust in somebody without logical proof. And in today's day and age of seeing is believing, faith is oftentimes cast aside for those instant gratification items that people can taste, touch, see, and hear. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to accept the path that God has chosen for us. I know that I've had a tough time explaining to people how I ended up back here at Jesuit after 12 years of purgatory in a public school system. And I know as you examine your own personal journeys to the pews you're currently sitting in, you might not realize the driving force behind many of the decisions that led to where you are in your lives. But just take a moment and think about Father Michael Judge and the amount of faith in God it took to make the decisions he made on that fateful September morning. You begin to realize if we continue to stay out of God's way, continue to let him take us where he wants us to go, let us meet who he wants us to meet, and tell us what he wants us to say, then maybe God will continue to lead us on our own personal journeys in life.